So in the last video, we have studied about the route of drug administration, wherein we have studied in detail about the oral or the enteral route of drug administration. So in today's class, we shall study about the other routes of drug administration. So coming to the parenteral route, so this parenteral route, as the name itself suggests, so it is behind the enteral route. So it is away from the enteral route. So such kind of routes we call it as parenteral route. See, under parenteral route we get different routes of drug administration. So the important ones being intravenous, intramuscular, subcutaneous, intraperitoneal, and all other routes of administration also be used, whereas the most important ones are these routes of drug administration under parenteral route. So the first parenteral route of administration is the intravenous route of drug administration. So in parenteral route, so the basic feature of the parenteral route of drug administration is, so this parenteral route of drug administration, so the majority of this kind of drug administration, it avoids the first pass effect. So the first pass effect, it is a phenomenon wherein the drug passing through the intestine for the first time gets metabolized at the level of intestine or at the level of the liver. So that we call it as first pass effect. This parenteral route, so majority of parenteral route, there will be no first pass effect, and onset of action, so compared to oral or enteral route, the onset of action will be rapid. And you can go for parenteral route in case of uncooperative animals also, where a proper restraint should be made. So animal is restrained properly, and then you can go for parenteral route. See, when you compare it with oral route of administration for an uncooperative animal, so parenteral route will be a good choice. And the thing we should remember about parenteral route of administration is, since the majority of parenteral route, it involves the administration of drug with the help of a needle, the injection site, it should be sterile and it should be hygiene. And majority of parenteral routes, it produces systemic effect as well as the local effect also. So the first parenteral route of administration is intravenous route of administration. So the name itself suggests it is injecting the drug into the veins. So already I have given the assignment question, which are all the preferred veins for cattle, dog, cat, sheep and goat, pig, rabbit, elephants and horses. So which is the preferred vein for cattle? So it will be jugular vein. For dog and cat, it will be saphenous vein and the cephalic vein. Sheep and goat, again jugular vein. And pigs, so pig we go for ear vein or jugular vein in case of pigs. Then in case of rabbit, marginal ear vein. Elephant, again ear vein, auricular vein. Then horses, jugular vein. So these are all some preferred veins for the different species of animal. So in intravenous route also, we get two ways in which a drug can be injected through intravenous route. So one we call it as, it can be given as IV bolus or IV infusion. See, what do you mean by IV bolus? See, an amount of suppose a particular dosage of a drug is fixed. So for example, a 20 ml is the dosage of a drug X. So if you are giving the entire 20 ml at a stretch to an animal through IV route, so such type of injection we call it as IV bolus injection. Giving the entire dosage at a stretch to produce a desired effect through intravenous route, we call it as intravenous bolus injection. So what do you mean by intravenous infusion? So intravenous infusion, if you give this 20 ml drop by drop or over a stretch of time, so that will become intravenous infusion rate. So it's the same thing, the 20 ml, if you give 20 ml in a drip form, so 0.5 ml, so per some time, so it will take a long time for the infusion of this entire 20 ml. So that will become the IV infusion. So it is given in the form of intravenous drips. See, for rehydration, for fluid therapy, so which is the way in which the intravenous route of injection is given. So we prefer IV infusion. Then the irritating solution. See the intravenous route. So irritating solution, for example, anti-cancerous drug, they are more preferred. So irritating solutions are more preferred to be given through intravenous route. So likewise, rehydrating fluids and blood components, the blood transfusion or plasma transfusion, platelet transfusion. So all this we prefer the intravenous route of administration only. Then what are all the advantages and disadvantages of this intravenous route? So the primary advantages of this intravenous route, so regarding the onset of action. So what will be the onset of action in intravenous route? So it will be having rapid onset of action. Why rapid onset of action? See, you are injecting the drug directly into the vein, directly into the blood. So what will be its bioavailability? So what do you mean by bioavailability? It is the amount of drug that reaches the systemic circulation. Since you are injecting the drug directly into the blood, the bioavailability of such kind of drug will be 100%. So it is the route of administration where the drug is having 100% bioavailability, intravenous route. Since there will be 100% bioavailability at the systemic circulation, obviously the onset of action will be very rapid. Then you can give precise dose quickly. See, if you think we are giving 10 ml, so that entire 10 ml will reach the systemic circulation very fast. So the precise dose quickly and the bioavailability will be 100%. If you are injecting 10 ml of drug, that 10 ml, the entire 10 ml will reach the systemic circulation intact. So that will be called as 100% bioavailability. Then the pharmacokinetic features, see ADME, absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion. So there is no absorption in case of intravenous route. See absorption, so it has already directly entered the systemic circulation. So this absorption factor is not there in case of intravenous route. So only the drug has to get distributed, metabolized and excreted out. So absorption feature will not be there in case of intravenous route, and that's also one of the reason why the bioavailability is 100%. And in emergency condition, in emergency situation, obviously this intravenous route will be the route of choice. Then if, for example, there are rapidly metabolized drug, for example dobutamine and dopamine. See, dobutamine and dopamine, their half-life is 1 to 2 minutes. That means if you give a drug, within 1 to 2 minutes the drug will get metabolized. The half-life is, it is a time taken for a drug to reach half of its concentration when you compare it with the initial concentration. That is the meaning of half-life. So half-life of dobutamine and dopamine is 1 to 2 minutes. So if you give dobutamine or dopamine through intramuscular route or through any other route, so by the time it reaches the target, so it will get metabolized. Such will be the small half-life time of dobutamine and dopamine. So such kind of drug, you can prefer it giving through intravenous route, that too by whether you will give it through intravenous bolus or intravenous infusion. So you will give it through intravenous infusion. Continuously you will be maintaining the concentration of dobutamine and dopamine. So continuously you will be pushing the dobutamine and dopamine into the body. So the preferred route for a rapidly metabolized drug will be intravenous route, that to intravenous infusion. Then as I already told, highly irritating drugs or highly irritating solutions can be given through intravenous route, or the preferred route for highly irritating solutions will be intravenous route only. So what will be the reason? Because the dilution of highly irritating drug in the systemic circulation, so the fluid component in the blood, it will dilute the irritating solution, and when you compare it to the artery, so there will be less nerve supply for the vein, so the sensitization of the vein to the irritating solution will be lesser when you compare it with the other things. So that's the reason why highly irritating solution, I am stressing on solution, so you cannot give a suspension or emulsion. So highly irritating solution is given only through the intravenous route, and the reasons being these two. And you can give both non-isotonic and isotonic solution through the intravenous route. So isotonic solution, its osmolarity should be ranged from 280 to 300 milliosmol per liter. So less than 280 you call it as hypotonic, more than 300 you call it as hypertonic solution. So isotonic, hypotonic, hypertonic. So any solutions you can give through intravenous route. And another advantage is you can give a large volume or large dose of a drug. See, for while rehydration, while giving an intravenous drip, so you will go up to 500 ml, you will give 2 bottles 1 liter you are going to give, or 2 liters in a day. So large volume of a drug can be given through intravenous route. And the assignment question, see D5 solution, although it is isotonic, should be very careful while using in a patient suffering from edema. So again it will be dealt under fluid therapy. So for time being, try to answer this question. So these are the advantages of intravenous route of drug administration. See what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages then? See the disadvantages of the intravenous route of administration. So the major disadvantage of intravenous route of administration is you require a trained personnel or a special skill. See, to give a tablet through oral routes, you don't need a trained personnel or a special skill, whereas to do a intravenous administration, obviously you need a trained personnel, a special skill, right? Then it is a most dangerous route. See why it is a most dangerous route? For example, see for certain drug, the preferred indication is it should be given through intravenous route. Suppose another drug is given through such route, see for example xylazine and xylocaine. So it sounds similar, xylazine and xylocaine. Xylazine, it is a sedative, xylocaine, it is a local anesthetic. So this is a sedative, so this xylocaine is a local anesthetic. So if in the place of xylazine, if accidentally xylocaine is given through intravenous route, the effect will be very much different. So that's why the most dangerous route. So if a drug accidentally, if it is given through intravenous route, so where it is not indicated, so it might lead to adverse effect. And another thing about intravenous route is once you push the drug through intravenous route, so it is not retractable. So whereas in oral route, if you given the drug accidentally, if you come to know that I have given accidentally through oral route, so you can induce vomition, you can induce purgation, whereas if you inject it through intravenous route, no retractability, so you cannot retrieve the drug back. So that's why it is the most dangerous route of administration. So another assignment question here, so what do you mean by extra label use of drug? So what do you mean by extra label use of drug? Then another disadvantage is, so always you should maintain a sterile condition at the injection site, and the soluble solutions only can be given through intravenous route. You cannot give the suspension or emulsion. The same thing, insoluble drugs, oily solution, suspension or emulsion cannot be given through intravenous route. Then restraint, so restraint should be made. So if there is no proper restraint, very difficult to give a intravenous injection. So proper restraint must and should be maintained. And if air accidentally enters the intravenous route, it might cause air emboli. Then extravasation. So since you are giving an highly irritating solution through the intravenous route, a slight extravasation, slight leakage of drug from the blood vessel, it might lead to the sloughing of the surrounding tissues. So for example, vincristine. See, vincristine is an highly irritating solution, an anti-cancerous agent given to treat transveneral tumor. So accidentally, if it leaks outside into neighboring tissue, it might lead to necrosis. It might lead to the tissue necrosis. So that is also one of the disadvantage. And short duration of action. See here, since the drug will rapidly go into the systemic circulation, rapidly distributed, metabolized, excreted, and since it directly goes into the systemic circulation, what will be the duration of action? See, no doubt onset of action is very fast. Similarly, duration of action will also be very less duration of action. See, for example, you are giving 10 ml of enrofloxacin through intravenous route, so the duration of action will be 30 minutes. So the time for which the enrofloxacin act is only for 30 minutes. If the same enrofloxacin you are giving 10 ml through oral route, so what will be its duration of action? It will act up to 2 hours. Why it will act up to 2 hours? By the time it reaches the systemic circulation, the time to reach systemic circulation itself is late here. So given through oral route. So the duration of action will be higher when you give it through oral route. So short duration of action. So if you want to increase the duration of action of a drug through intravenous route, so what is the thing we should follow here? So give it through infusion. So you give it through intravenous infusion to increase the duration of action. Then once injected, as I told, it's the most dangerous route. Once injected, non-retrievable, non-retractable. So you cannot get back the drug. And Salage dosage form, so you cannot give it through intravenous route. So these assignment questions, it's already covered in the last video itself. Then the next route of administration is the intramuscular route of drug administration. So the intramuscular route of drug administration, it is the common route that we follow in the veterinary practice. So where the drug is given between the layers of one of the larger skeletal muscle, and it is given with the help of the injection and held injection, and also darting. See, darting is another special technique where we use to inject the wild or the zoo animals. And in skeletal muscle, when you insert a drug into the large skeletal muscle, how it gets absorbed? See, the skeletal muscle, it will be supplied with the blood vessel. So there from the muscle, so it will go into the blood vessel. So from the blood vessel, it will enter the systemic circulation. And at the skeletal muscle, so the skeletal muscle will be having high blood vessel supply, and the sensory nerves are very less when you compare it with the other places. And what kind of drugs will get absorbed when you give it through intramuscular route? See, non-polar drug or lipid soluble drug obviously will be having higher absorption since it has to cross the blood vessel membrane. So it will directly get absorbed into the capillaries. Then polar drugs with low molecular weight. See, polar drug is water soluble drug with low molecular weight. It will be also having a fairly good absorption rate again through the capillaries. But the problem in intramuscular route is polar drug, the water soluble drug with an high molecular weight. So the polar drug with an high molecular weight, it will not enter into the capillaries, whereas it will get enter into the lymphatics, and then from the lymphatic into the systemic circulation. You know how lymphatics drain into the systemic circulation. Though all the lymphatics, the primarily drain into either right lymphatic duct or thoracic duct. From there it will go into the brachiocephalic vein, then the superior vena cava, then the heart. So anywhere the lymphatic systems are there, it will drain into the superior vena cava. Whereas for vein, so for the lower body, it will drain into inferior vena cava. For upper body, the vein will drain into superior vena cava. Whereas in lymphatic, so whatever will be the position of the drug, if it enters lymphatic, so it will ultimately drain into the superior vena cava, then into the heart. Then the preferred site for intramuscular route. So in cattle, the preferred route for intramuscular route is, so generally we prefer the neck muscle. So the most preferred route is the neck muscle, where an inverted triangle place is there at the middle of the neck. So generally we give the injection at the middle leg. So on another route is, we commonly give it at the rump also. So in the rump, what will happen? So the drug, it might get leak into the cavity, the abdominal cavity, or the nerves will go on. So if the animal is cachectic, the animal is weak, so it will affect the nerves also. So in semitendinous muscle, so in the thigh region, there also the same disadvantage. So the nerve supply will be there, sciatic nerves will be there. So it might damage the nerve. The best route of intramuscular administration in case of cattle is the neck muscle only. Then this intramuscular injection, it will produce the systemic effect. The more commonly it produces systemic effect and more routinely used in our veterinary practice. Then what are the advantages of this intramuscular route? So the advantages of intramuscular route are the aqueous solutions you can give like the intravenous route. Apart from that, you can also give suspension, you can give the emulsion. See, for example, procaine penicillin. See, procaine penicillin, it is an oily emulsion used as a depot preparation. So the only thing is you have to give it deep IM. So when you give deep IM, so what will be the advantage? So the accessibility to the blood vessel in the skeletal muscle, so it will be shorter. So easily it might enter the blood vessel. So the amount of irritation that it might cause to the skeletal muscle will be less. So that's the reason why the oily emulsions are some irritating solutions like oxytetracycline or anthiomelin, so which are preferably irritating. So that will be given through deep IM route so that it will get access into blood vessel easily. Then rapid absorption. So the absorption rate will be more than the oral route and subcutaneous route and lesser than the intravenous route. So no absorption in case of intravenous route. So then mild to moderate irritants can be given through intramuscular route. I told you oxytetracycline, anthiomelin. Then the duration of action. See, duration of action, when you compare it with intravenous route, it will be having a fairly higher duration of action and lesser than the subcutaneous route. So most preferred route for wild, zoo and uncooperative animal. So the restraint, so comparatively will be lesser when you compare it with the intravenous route of the administration. See, the disadvantage of intramuscular route of drug administration is, so larger volume, so it is restricted. So larger volume cannot be given through intramuscular route. Maximum is you can give the 15 to 20 ml of the drug. And another disadvantage is, since the nerve will also pass through the skeletal muscle, so it might lead to damage to the important nerves. So as I told, at the rump region or at the thigh, when you are giving through intramuscular route, if the animal is weak or cachectic, so more chances that you are going to damage the nerves. Then blood vessel also, and sometime it will lead to the damage to the muscle layer also. So it might damage the muscle layer. So if there is not proper technique in injecting through intramuscular route, it might damage the muscle layer as well. So it might lead to tissue necrosis. And it is not a route for emergency. See, when you compare it with intravenous route, so rapid onset of action more than oral route and subcutaneous route, but for acute condition, so intravenous route is the preferred choice, not the intramuscular. So if a patient is suffering from cardiovascular collapse or if there is shock, so the amount of the fluid reaching the blood vessel will be less, since the absorption of drug from intramuscular route depends upon its absorption into the blood vessel. So in shock condition, cardiovascular collapse, the absorption of drug from the intramuscular route, it might get compromised. So poor absorption will be there in such cases. And during thrombocytopenia and coagulopathy conditions, so this intramuscular route are contraindicated. So when you are injecting a drug accidentally, if it damages the blood vessel, so there might be bleeding. So the bleeding tendency, so due to that factor, thrombocytopenia or any coagulopathy condition, so intramuscular route is contraindicated. And darting, what do you mean by darting? So I told you, darting is a special technique by which a drug is administered with the help of a gun to a non-domesticated animal. So for a zoo or a wild animal, so this darting technique is very commonly used. That is one of the technique used through intramuscular route. So without handling and restraint is not needed. So preferred route where you inject the drug is rump or back hind leg or neck or the shoulder muscle. So it might lead to panic. So animals will not expecting the injection. So that's why the animal might panic. And if wrong insert, so apart from these specified places, if drug get injected into other places, it might lead to adverse effect also. Then third route of administration is the subcutaneous route, called as SC. You can abbreviate it as SQ also. So the subcutaneous route, it is deposited in the loose subcutaneous tissue just under the skin. So if you follow this figure, so this is the epidermis, then this layer will be the dermis. So below the dermis, so there is a loose connective tissue place, so that space you call it as subcutaneous place below the cutaneous region. So below subcutaneous region, you will get the muscular layer. So in the muscular layer, you get the blood vessel, the supply of blood vessel and the supply of the nerves and also the capillaries, right? So if you want to give into the vein, so it will become intravenous route. So the angle of the injection will be acute angle. So intramuscular route, I told you are going to inject drug into the muscular route. So 90-degree injection. Then subcutaneous, again acute angle. So you catch hold of the skin. So you take the skin out. So into the subcutaneous area, you are going to inject the drug. So here the mode of absorption of subcutaneous route, see the drug, it has to pass through the muscular layer, then it has to enter the capillaries, then the drug will get absorbed into the capillaries. Whereas in intramuscular route, so from the drug from the muscular layer, it will enter into the capillaries. So fairly faster onset of action when you compare it with subcutaneous route. Whereas vein, directly the drug get enter into the systemic circulation. No absorption is involved in the intravenous route. So subcutaneous region, so from the capillaries, the drug will enter into the bloodstream. And less vascular area, as I shown in the picture, so the blood supply will be lesser in the subcutaneous area. So slower and continuous absorption. Due to slow and continuous absorption, it will act as a depot. So it will act as a depot. So it will increase the duration of action due to slow and continuous absorption. So more commonly it produces systemic effect, and certain implants can also be given through this subcutaneous route. So implant, what is the mode of administration of an implant? So you temporarily numb the area, then you make a small incision, you put an implant in the subcutaneous tissue, you ligate it or you treat it as a open wound. Then after its work is done, the implant will be removed. See, administration of local anesthetic by injection into the local area, we call it as infiltration anesthesia. So infiltration anesthesia, more commonly it can be given through intradermal route or through subcutaneous route. So infiltration anesthesia, it can be given through subcutaneous route and also can be given through epidermal route. Then what are the advantages of this subcutaneous route? So the advantages are relatively large volume of non-irritating drugs can be given through subcutaneous route, since a fair amount of space will be available at the subcutaneous area. Then the absorption lesser than intramuscular and intravenous route, and fairly good amount of absorption more than the oral route. So you can inject an implant. So it will act as a depot preparation. Depot is continuously the drug will be released so that the duration of action will be comparatively higher. So sustained release of drug will be there in case of subcutaneous route, the very important advantage of the subcutaneous route. And in subcutaneous route, you can either increase the absorption of a drug or you can decrease the rate of absorption of a drug. So if you want to increase the rate of absorption of a drug given through subcutaneous route, you massage the area, you massage the injected area, or give a heat. So give heat into the area, or add serratiopeptidase, so that will break the collagen at the specified area. It will increase the rate of absorption. Suppose you want to decrease the rate of absorption, your intention is for sustained release of that drug, you want to decrease the rate of absorption, you give an vasoconstrictor, or cold, you apply the cold or given a vasoconstrictor. See, for example, local anesthetic, I told you local anesthetic is given through subcutaneous route, infiltration anesthesia. So more commonly during infiltration anesthesia, local anesthetic is given in combination with an vasoconstrictor. See, for example, lidocaine is given in combination with the epinephrine. So what is the idea behind this? So epinephrine, it produces vasoconstriction, lidocaine produces local anesthesia. The combination of it helps. Epinephrine causes the vasoconstriction, that's how it decreases the absorption of the lidocaine. So it will lead to the sustained release of the lidocaine, so the duration of action, so the time for which the effect is seen will be increased. So disadvantage of subcutaneous route is, so it might cause severe pain, tissue necrosis and sterile abscess if you give irritant drugs through subcutaneous route. See, what do you mean by sterile abscess? So if you are giving oxytetracycline, which is a fairly irritant drug, through subcutaneous route, so oxytetracycline is an antibiotic, so it will clear the pathogen that is present at the subcutaneous area. But along with that, because of its irritant property, it's going to produce the pus, so it's going to produce an abscess. So that's why it is called as sterile abscess. Even though the pathogen present at that area will be nullified by the effect of oxytetracycline, but due to its irritant nature, there is a production of abscess. So such kind of abscess is called as sterile abscess. Then isotonic drugs, you cannot give an isotonic drug through subcutaneous route. Why you cannot give an isotonic route? See, what do you mean by an isotonic drug? So where the osmolarity of such drug, it will be in equilibrium with the surrounding tissue, right? So what do you mean by osmosis? Osmosis, it is the movement of water from the lower solute concentration to the higher solute concentration, right? Or the movement of water from higher water concentration to lower water concentration. See what happens in isotonic drug, the solute concentration will be equal at the subcutaneous area and at the blood vessel, inside the blood vessel. So no absorption of drugs takes place if you give an isotonic drug. So you give a hypotonic drug, the water will flow inside. So like that, so isotonic drugs cannot be given through the subcutaneous route. And during shock also, see during shock it will hamper the absorption. So why in shock it hampers the absorption given through subcutaneous route? Because in shock there will be compromised condition. The blood supply will be hampered, so the absorption of drug will be hampered. So in shock condition, you cannot give a drug through subcutaneous route. The absorption rate will be hampered.